Hi, everyone. Welcome to Planet Grape Wine Review. This is our end of year top wines of the year uh, presentation for you. So I'm here with all of our regular contributors and panelists, including Dr. Liz Tosh, Master of Wine, and really master of all of the universe of the wine world, very accomplished, Sonoma State, author. You want to hold up your book cover there? Author of Luxury Wine Marketing that just got a huge award. So congratulations with that.
OIV.
As well as with Deborah Parker Wong, global wine editor of the Tasting Panel and Somm Journal, also an educator, presenter, presenter, technological whiz, and really a great wine expert as well. And then Fred Swan, who is educator, sommelier, works with San Francisco Wine School, as well as many consumers, doing great Zoom events this year, more online than in person, and a lot of great events with wines, with wine and food. You've been doing some dinner pairings recently that looked really good. And finally, myself, Catherine Follis, and I'm the founder of Planet Grape Wine Review, as well as the Tasting Panel lead. And we're going to start with Liz. We're going to each share with you one of our favorite wines of 2020. Liz?
Thank you, Catherine. Well, I had many favorite wines, of course, in 2020, but the one I wanted to pick for this is the Roederer Estate Brut Sparkling. This is a classic wine. It's been around for a long time. The estate started in 1982, 600 acres in the Anderson Valley of Mendocino County in California. And why I love this wine so much is it's always consistently delicious and it's not that expensive. I picked this one up at Trader Joe's for around $20. You can get it at Costco, a lot of fine wine shops. And the other interesting thing about it is that oftentimes in blind tastings, people confuse this wine with a real champagne. Now it is made by the Roederer House out of France, but this is California bubbles here. And so that's one of the reasons I like it. And you know, Catherine, the other thing that happened during COVID, in the first few months, sparkling and champagne sales just cratered because everybody was depressed. Yeah. But then something interesting happened around June, somewhere around this summer. Sparkling and champagne sales picked up again, and they have, of course, stayed constant and continued to climb dramatically. And I think that's because people decided that even though we may not be able to go out and travel and celebrate in the ways we normally do, we can at least treat ourselves to something special. And that's why I think this wine is so great for Wine of the Year.
Love it. That's amazing. And that's great that since June, people have been less depressed, drinking more festive drinks, a lot of bubbles. That's great. Yeah.
Festive mood, even if it's just to celebrate the fact that it might be Tuesday. At least, you know, we celebrate bubbles.
We've made it to Tuesday. That's a reason. And it's a great price. It's a California product, you know, support the local products. That's great, Liz. Thank you.
It's made in the Method Champenois, you know, secondary fermentation in bottle. And it's just lovely.
Sounds good. Well, let's move on to Deborah Parker Wong. What's your pick, Deborah?
Well, my pick came to me as part of a sample kit of wines from the producers of Alentejo, who are part of the WASP program, the Wines of Alentejo Sustainability Program. And not only did I find this wine strikingly delicious, I really like what it stands for, because Alentejo, the southernmost wine growing region in Portugal, has the hottest temperatures on record in Portugal. So they are confronting climate change every day. My wine is the Herdade do Rocin Vinho Branco. This is a white wine blend of Antão Vaz, which is an indigenous grape there, Arinto, also indigenous, and Vicinho. And these are three local grapes and that are in this blend, which is incredibly crisp, a little acidic, sure, lots of delicious minerality, citrus fruits, not a particularly complex wine, but for refreshing with a mineral expression that I personally adore. This region is really very special in that it's the southernmost wine growing region, but it's got a very interesting orientation that makes it the coolest of the regions. And that's where the acidity and this wonderful mineral expression derive from.
And what's the retail price on this, Deborah?
Well, okay, here's the rub. The Tito from this producer is available, is now currently available, and some other white wines from this producer are currently available. This wine is about $12 to $13 retail.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is tremendous quality for value, and this is my most memorable wine of the year.
Brilliant. Wow, that sounds really interesting, you know. Yeah, cheers. Portuguese white. Well, I may as well continue on that thread of a little bit esoteric. And my favorite wine of the year is from the Isle of Sicily. It's the largest Mediterranean island, and it is called Santa Cecilia. And it's a wine that is made from 100% Nero d'Avola. That's the name of the grape. And it is from Noto in the southeast corner of Sicily. Now, for those of you that are following trends in Italian wine, there's a region just north of Noto, past Siracusa and Catania, that's called Mount Etna. And Mount Etna has been making really, you know, the region underwent this whole kind of revolution over a decade ago, and it's been making these really beautiful wines out of the main grape Nerello Mascalese. There's a lot of outside investment there. It's kind of all the buzz of Sicily. But unfortunately, the other regions of Sicily kind of are getting left out of the spotlight. And if you just go from Mount Etna about 78 miles south, you'll be in Noto. It's right on the southeastern coast of the island, still facing the Ionian Sea. And the grape is Nero d'Avola, which is slightly richer and more full-bodied and makes a little bit more plush wine than the folks do in Etna with the Nerello Mascalese. And so, you know, it's a little bit more polished and definitely no funk. So there's no, you know, kind of that funky edge that some of the Etna wines can have, which is not for everybody. So they're almost a little bit cleaner, a little bit plusher, but still really Italian, full because we're in Sicily, very complex, very dry, but racy, zesty, lemony acidity, because that's the style of Italian red wine. This has notes of raspberry and fig, red and black licorice, which you expect, and cardamom, bay leaf, and just a little bit of porcini dust, giving it an earthy quality. Really lovely wine. Would be a crowd pleaser. You know, it's about $42 a bottle, so it's kind of a special occasion wine, but I highly recommend it. It's very memorable, beautifully balanced, and it could go with a lot of, you know, the holiday dishes that are coming up over the next couple of weeks. So there you have it. And I think, Fred, what do you have for us?
Thank you. So my wine of the year is the 2016 Smith Madrone Cook's Flat Reserve. Bottle looks like that. And it is a blend. It's 54% Cabernet Sauvignon, 46% Cabernet Franc this time. It comes from up on Spring Mountain, made by Smith Madrone Winery. And I chose this wine for a few different reasons. One, it's a tremendously good wine. It is a small production Bordeaux variety blend. They only made 111 cases. It's a tremendous wine. I give it 96 points. More on why I do that coming up. And it sells for $225. So it is a little exclusive. That said, Smith Madrone known for offering outstanding value. So from the same wine from a less value-minded proprietor would probably go for $300 or $400 in Napa Valley. So first about the wine, it's very dark in the glass. Lots of black cherry, black currant on the nose. There's very gentle spice, and there's a lot of violets sort of dancing on top of the fruit. Palate has those same things, plus a lot of mocha. It's medium plus, almost full bodied. It's very round and soft in the mouth. It's not big at all. It carries itself gently and lightly, but it's very soft. It has tannins that are good structurally, but they don't get in the way of anything. And you can drink this wine by itself or with food. Likewise, it's accessible now, but will easily age for 15 years or so, perhaps more. This is a wine that Smith Madrone doesn't make every year. They've only made it 13 times in the last 20 years. They only pick the best vintages. It all comes from one 8-acre block in their vineyard. More on that in a second. And each time they make it, it's different because they're picking the very best barrels of that year. Sometimes it's mostly Merlot. There's no Merlot at all in this wine, but it's always some combination of 2 or 3 of the main Bordeaux varieties. So why else did I choose this wine? Well, one, it represents the history of Napa Valley. And then both the ancient and the modern history of Napa Valley, but it also very much represents contemporary Napa. So that block was developed by George Cook, who bought the property, or was given it by President Chester A. Arthur in 1885. He planted a vineyard. That vineyard, after Prohibition, eventually went dormant until it was bought by Stu Smith in 1971 when he was 22 years old, founded the winery. Stu Smith still does all the viticulture at the winery. His brother Charlie, who joined 2 years later, makes the wine. And they had to literally cut down trees because the vineyard had been overgrown by forest. They replanted in 1972, so they're old vines. The other thing about this, though, is not only is it a small family operation with continuity, but it was right at the forefront of everything happening with the fires this year. Stu and his brother were literally sleeping at the winery every night, and Charlie's son with a hose. Stu spent one of the last nights there by himself with firemen who were also using Smith Madrone as a base. They would sleep on the ground and then go back out and fight the fires. And fortunately, the winery and this vineyard survived. So timely history and just a totally delicious wine.
Wow, great story, great wine. And coming from Fred, that means a lot because Fred is certainly a Napa Valley Cabernet expert, as well as the many other hats he wears. So please, again, support our local wineries here in California, as well as in Portugal and Italy and around the world. It's been an incredibly challenging year for so many people. We're hoping for a better 2021. If you'd like to find any of these wines, please visit us at planetgrapewinereview.com and definitely put your comments in, the comment section here below the video. We'll be happy to answer them, and like our video, share it, and we'll see you on the other side of that 2021. Cheers, everyone. Thank you, Deborah. Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Fred.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.